Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Hello and welcome to Leading Real Life. We are your hosts, Rob and Shannon Olson. We have been married for 16 years. We have 4 children together. And we love talking about family and leadership. And so our goal is to help you step into your role as leader in your life and in your home.
That's what we want to do.
So today, we are talking about something very, very important.
Super important.
We're talking about being on the same page.
Simpatico.
Exactly. Communication.
That's
is key.
right. Ooh.
Today's
100%
podcast
key.
is brought to you by the letter C for communication.
Oh, right on. And the number 2.
Yeah.
For me and you.
Sure.
Oh,
That's
I just
terrible.
ruined the whole thing.
I'm gonna cut that out.
That's you should cut that out. So we're talking then. Okay, same page.
Yes.
Let's get right into
Yeah,
it.
let's do it.
Where does it start?
Before you get married,
What?
yes, you absolutely need to have some really big, tough conversations with whoever it is that you think you are going to want to spend the rest of your life with. Mm-hmm. Like, it is vital. If you don't have those conversations, you're going to get married, and then there's going to be all these surprises.
Yes.
And that's never what you want.
No, 100% true.
Yeah, and we're not talking about things like which side of the bed do you sleep on,
Right.
and
What's your favorite movie?
do you wear socks to bed, stuff
Right.
like that.
Well, that's
You might want to talk about
yeah,
those
that's a deal
things.
breaker.
But there's big questions that we need to be
there is.
asking.
And so, can I say something
yes.
first then?
Yeah.
If you are about to get married and you are not willing to go to premarital counseling, I think that that's even right there a
Yeah.
bit of a warning.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, I think for me and you, if we hadn't gone to premarital counseling, we might not have asked some of those big questions.
Yeah. Yeah,
If we were
it's
just
true.
going under our own strength and our own knowledge.
Yeah.
We would have gone based on the romantic idea
Yeah.
that marriage is wonderful bliss, right? That we have love that will conquer all,
Yeah.
and that our children will be perfect.
Exactly.
And we'll live in a cottage probably somewhere,
Yeah.
and sing to the birds.
Yeah, I think when you're in love with someone, there's a lot of assumptions because, you've gotten along so far to this point, and there's a lot of assumptions about how you think life is going to be. But if you don't actually vocalize those things and talk about them, you could be in for
So, like, what
some
are
difficulty.
some of the really big questions you need to ask?
Well, the first one I think that you need to discuss is how important is marriage to you?
I agree with that because, like, I knew for me in my heart of hearts, because I knew it from past relationships that, like, marriage is it for me.
Yeah.
There's one.
Yeah.
And that's you.
Yeah.
Right? And it was whoever I was going to marry. So before it was you, I didn't know who it was going to be. But it would just sort of, I would look for that in other people. I'd
Right.
be like, it's like, try and get a gauge of how people think of marriage or would treat marriage or speak of marriage.
Yeah.
And, like, so I knew 100% going in that there was no way I would run.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, aside from if you beat me,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Or, like, kidnapped my children and ran away.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing.
Right.
Like those really, really difficult, bad, awful situations
Yeah.
that we can't control sometimes.
Right.
Aside from that, if it's just a matter of the practice of loving, that I was going to put everything into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Well, and I think often when you're getting married, you assume the person's in it for life. But if you've never really had the conversation about, like, how important is this vow that we're taking to you? Like, is it till death do us part? Or is this going to be like, well, we'll see how this goes?
Well, yeah. And so actually, I guess I made that last sort of statement without closing it. I felt that, but I needed to know you felt that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like,
Communication.
yeah, exactly. Right. So being certain that that's who you are, the
Yeah.
beautiful part about that is I know you're that same person 16 years later. I
Right.
knew it at 8 years. I knew
Yeah.
it when we moved to Peru.
Yeah.
I knew it when Peru fell through and we had to move back. I knew it when we moved out to Ottawa. Like, I've been able to confidently
Yeah.
go through all the things and some bad things,
Yeah.
right, in my
Yeah.
life but I knew you were there, right?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't run. And that understanding gave me confidence from the start.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
That's great. Okay, so marriage is important. Now,
Marriage is important. That is the most quotable line I've ever. Marriage is important.
It's important.
Put that on a coffee
The
mug.
covenant of marriage is important.
Yes.
Next big question. kids.
Right.
Is this in your future? Because I have heard of a lot of people that have been surprised, not actually personally, like probably have heard stories about it, right?
Yeah.
But who've been surprised once they got married to find out their spouse actually doesn't want kids. And you do.
Yeah.
Or you want one and they want 10. Like, how are you going to work through something that is life altering, right?
Oh.
How do you deal with that?
It changes the marriage dynamic insanely.
Absolutely.
Right?
So you absolutely have to ask that question before you even consider marriage.
Yeah, I know, because like there's nothing worse than getting that far in and then you have kids and one of the parents gets scared and runs.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like that's just like, it's so difficult on the children, on the person who is left with the children. And honestly, it's not easy on the person who is feeling like they've failed everybody as well.
No, exactly. Well, and I think a lot of times society wants to side with the person who wants kids, right? Well, they're the good one in the relationship, right? But like so you think about if you want kids, you find out your spouse doesn't, it's devastating. But it's probably devastating for your spouse too, because they're going to feel like they've let you down.
Yep.
But like if they've envisioned their life without kids, that's
a totally feasible life.
Exactly.
And it can be a very good life.
Yeah.
And it's not a wrong life.
No. And you should never go into the marriage, like say you've talked about this and you're like, your spouse doesn't want kids, but you do. And you think, oh, well, they'll change their mind. Like, don't assume that.
No.
Don't assume that someone will change their mind about something that big.
No, and I think that I don't like that people say, well, men get married with women hoping they never change, and women get married
hoping they will change.
But I do think that does play out in people's lives. And I do think that sometimes men marry women and hope that they never change. I think that men marry women sometimes and hope that they do change. Like, I just think that there's a dynamic there that sometimes I'm willing to now look past, right, this thing, but I hope that changes.
Yeah.
Right? And it can be men or women. It's not just this one way kind of thing that we've decided it is. But yes, it is super important to ask those questions. Talk about what you envision your family looking like.
Yeah.
Like we didn't know how many necessarily.
No.
But we both were like, we're kind of big family people.
Yeah.
Like we had this.
Yeah.
Our talks are about Christmas.
Exactly.
And like the family around the tree. And like I didn't know that it would be 11 people in a house. But we did foresee having a number of children. Yeah. Right? But then another part that comes into play there, and it's significant, and it's perhaps one of the most significant aspects, I believe, is what is your belief system?
Yeah.
And, like, what's your faith?
Yeah.
Right? Because
it's huge.
So I am a Christian, and so the Bible tells me, like, so the language is don't join with somebody who's unequally yoked. Right. And what that just means is, like, somebody who doesn't believe the things that you believe, you are going to struggle.
Yeah.
And because it shows up right there with the kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, so if I'm a believer and I believe in Jesus and you're a Buddhist and you don't, how are we going to train our children?
Exactly.
And you could say, oh, we'll train them in everything.
Yeah.
So, but that won't play out.
Yeah. Well, because no matter what, if you have a really strong faith, like whatever it is, you desire that for your children as well, right? Because you believe it.
Yep.
That's your belief system. And you believe that faith is super vital.
Yeah.
And so, of course, you're going to want to instill that in your children. And if you guys are struggling, like butting heads about the faith system or lack of faith, whatever it may be, it's going to be tough.
It will be tough. And it's not that nobody's ever done it.
No, of course people have. I think it's something that adds unnecessary difficulty to a relationship.
I do too. And I think it has a possibility of confusing kids.
Right?
Like,
yeah, I could see that.
Mom wants me to go to church, but dad doesn't believe in anything. Yeah. So why do I have to?
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
Right. And what happens then? Well, mom is left to look this certain way or to be the only one trying. Yeah. And the kids are battling it. Yeah. Right. And then there becomes like anger. Yeah. There's regret. Yeah. There's worry. Yeah. And all of that just adds an extra layer of struggle. Yeah. To your marriage.
Well, and then there's also like at some point, are you going to ever feel ridiculed for your faith?
Right.
Or like you're being made
or
fun
your lack of faith.
Or lack of faith,
Yeah.
right? Like you don't want to feel lesser than in your own home.
No.
Because of your belief
Well, this
system.
is supposed to be your partner.
Yeah.
Right? So if
exactly.
your partner is making fun, well, that's just not a good not a good situation, right? But like, if you feel less than in the partnership, then you cannot be your full self.
No, exactly. And then your home isn't going to feel like your home, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that if you guys, if anyone's listening right now who isn't yet married and you're going to be married soon, or you are hoping to be married in the near future, look for that.
Yeah.
And find people that are like-minded. They're out there.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Absolutely.
they're out there, and if you're so, I don't want to use the word desperate, but if you're so eager to get married that you will sort of take anything, that is not a reason to get married.
No. Definitely not.
Right? So what else? Future goals?
Yeah. Future goals. Like, so say you wanted to, say whatever your jobs were, say they're going to keep you apart from each other all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Like it doesn't allow you to be together and they sort of grow you apart. Like that's probably not a good thing.
Right. Or you at least need to know that it's coming.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So that you can know how to handle it.
Your future goals should be something that unite you.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you can't have different careers. Of course, you can have different careers, obviously.
Yeah.
But it should be something that you guys can work towards together.
Yeah.
So for us, as we mentioned in a previous episode, we thought initially that it was music.
Right.
And then we moved to missions and ministry. And even though I am not actually paid as a pastor or anything like that, our big goal, our big part of our life together is ministry, right? And we're always working towards that. Or, all those kinds of things allow us to have a united goal.
Yes. So I think that our big thing, I would say for me and you, and we've talked about this, is we want to help people.
Yeah.
Right? We want to help people in life. We want to help them lead. We want to help them love.
Yeah.
We want to help them win and have transformed lives and just experience victory.
Yeah.
Right? That is our calling in life. And that could take us on a million different, but we're still in the same sport. We're still in the same arena.
Yeah.
And it might take some discussion, and it takes a lot of discussion actually, and a lot of communication. But then we know that our decisions are based upon that, that direction of where we're going. Our future goals are super important. I also think that there's a certain aspect of, did you know that you were getting married to Barnum and he was going to go start the circus, and then you know what I mean? You didn't know that I was an entrepreneur and that I was going to work 14-hour days,
right?
And, so being very clear with what's important as far as what I value. Right?
Yeah.
Is something that you need to know and something that we need to decide if we share.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because if my value is money.
Yeah.
Right? And your value is relationship. How does that play out?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because that's where you'll see I don't know, someone who is a bit of a workaholic.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're driven by the money that they're making at their job. And their spouse is not.
Yeah.
They just want to spend time with.
Yeah.
They could care less about a big house or big cars or whatever. They just want to spend time with you. That's going to be...
Well, then somebody is going to experience an abundance and someone is going to experience a deficit.
Exactly.
Right? And that needs to be very clear so you can say, I don't want to live in that deficit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
if that's going to
exactly.
be, if money's going to be more important to you, really.
Yeah.
Right? If I can see that and I know that it's not my job to change you.
Yeah.
Then I just need to know if this is the time to cut and run.
Yeah. Well, and it's just the hard thing, right? It's how honest are you willing to be with that person before you get married?
I think that people in the world almost treat all relationships the same, but before you're married is very different. You are not in the same obligation. You have not made the same promises.
No.
So leaving a 3-year dating relationship while being hard.
Yeah.
You have not made the same promises necessarily. No. I'm sure some people have. Maybe after 2 years you're like, we'll be together forever, I promise.
Yeah,
but
sure.
But you are doing that when you get married.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, like, if you're going to leave before you get married is the time to do that.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? So know what you need to know.
Yeah.
Before you get married, make sure you're on the same page.
Exactly. One of the other things I think that, like, we feel like it's not important, but it kind of is, are some of the smaller things. Like, if you've been dating for a while, you probably know your likes and dislikes, but is there enough there, like similarities, things you have in common, hobbies, whatever, to keep you connected?
Right.
And
interested. Like,
and that doesn't mean that you can't, like, you have things you like, I have things I like. We don't have to like all the same things.
No.
But we have enough things in common that we still, after 16 years, still enjoy spending time together.
Yeah.
You want to enjoy spending time with your spouse.
You can't do life apart and together. Like, that doesn't work.
No, exactly. So, like, talk about those things too. Make sure that you have things you like to do together.
Yes. How are you growing together and staying on the same page?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're married now.
Yeah.
Right?
We're married.
How do you grow in life and stay on the same page? Because this is one thing to have the big discussion.
Yeah.
Right? And, we're on the same page. And this is all good. And honestly, there's so many people who are going to be like, I had the discussion, and you probably said, I agree to a whole bunch of things that you didn't even agree to because you still want to get married. Okay, but now we're married.
Yeah.
And even if it was like, yes, we've worked through all of that, we've done it perfectly, and we are at agreements. Now we're married. Does life end up looking exactly how you envisioned it when you start? Like, is this what you imagined for us?
No.
Right. So how do you stay on the same page as you go into your future?
Well, I mean, we're going to say this 1,000 times, but communication. Like, you always need to be talking. You always need to be discussing. So for us, within the first year of our marriage, we pivoted, right?
Big time pivot.
Like, huge.
Pivot.
You went to Bible school, and the course of our life changed. But we were in that together. We made a huge life decision together.
Not just that, we'd sold a house.
Yeah.
We sold our first house.
Yeah. But, like, talking about that, if you had just said, okay, I'm going to start doing this now, so you need to get on board. Like, it was a conversation. So if you feel like there is something major that's changing in your life, and it happens, you need to be honest with your spouse and discuss it. Don't make life changes without discussing it with them. No
life-changing decisions. No coming to you and saying, okay, so Shannon, I believe that I'm supposed to go to Peru.
Right. Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like, don't just, like,
and
throw the bomb and run away.
So how many times has that worked out in our lives like that? So, okay, when we decided that we would sell the house to pay for school, we talked about it and said, okay, this is the decision we want to make. And we see our future going that way. So when we went and did our internship in Peru, we both knew that we wanted to go to Peru specifically.
Yeah.
Right? Because we had talked about it. These are things that we did. We sat there and dreamed together.
Yeah.
Right? And we actually knew that Peru was the thing. So when we saw Peru show up in our lives,
it was exciting.
Right?
Yeah.
And then that played out again when it was coming back. Right? We discovered that we were having baby number 3. We looked over the finances. It was hard.
Yeah.
It was one of those hard life decisions.
Yeah.
We both, I think, on some level regret that we couldn't still be there.
Yeah.
We don't regret the decision.
No.
But we regret that we couldn't still be there. Came back. We did that together. Coming to Ottawa, same thing.
Yeah.
Writing my kids' book.
Yeah.
I wasn't just like, I'm going to write this kid's book. What did we do? We sat down and we talked about it together.
Yeah.
And we started dreaming together.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, this is how I see myself a part of this. Right? And then you're the one who made it all come together, and it's why it's a book. I mean, Madison was a massive part of that, but you were there.
Yeah.
And you were a part of the whole vision of the book coming together.
Yeah.
I wrote the words, right?
Yeah.
Like, so all of these over and over, and I guess I'm going way too long on this, but like over and over again, we made dreams come true together.
Exactly.
And they changed.
Yeah.
But it was because we communicated.
Yeah, the decision for me to go to school together. We made that decision together, and it is key. And so that doesn't mean that you won't change throughout your marriage. Yeah. You 100% will change.
How about your decision, not your decision, our decision to have you stay home?
Yeah.
Right? Not have a job, not have income coming in.
Yeah.
But just be at home.
And I mean,
that was us.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not been without its difficulties and its stresses.
But we could expect it, and we both own it.
Exactly.
This isn't like, oh, you're doing this to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, yeah, like just talk about it. Dream together.
Yeah.
If you have a dream, tell your spouse.
Oh, that's the person you should be sharing it with.
Exactly.
They might tell you're crazy. Okay, so benefit to being a 7. There's a benefit to being a 7. Being a 7, I probably tell her 20 dreams a month.
Yeah, I'm not on board with absolutely everything.
No,
100%
that he
comes to me with.
No, exactly. Like, I don't know the small percentage that make the cut, but when they do make the cut, then I know we're onto something.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's the same. Like, you also are the kind of person who maybe dreams less frequently than me.
Right.
But I know when you've done it that you've thought it through. Yeah. And it's just so exciting to me that you
have an idea.
No, not an idea. You have lots and lots of great ideas, but have a dream or a vision that is, I don't know, sort of like downloaded into you that you want to get out.
Yeah.
Right? Because it speaks my language. Right? But all of that stuff is always shared with one another.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the hard part about that, especially if you're a person who's like me with a 7, is you cannot get down on the other person when they don't jump on every thing. And we will, like, you know that. I'll have moments where I'm like, ugh,
yeah, for sure.
You just don't believe in me.
Well, and this sort of goes back to what we talked about in episode 2, leading yourself. Yeah. Understand who you are as a person. So if you know that you have a dominant personality and your spouse is not as dominant, like, you might need to relax a little bit, right? You might need to understand that they're not going to get on board with absolutely everything, and you shouldn't assume that they will.
Yeah.
But as someone who isn't dominant, know that sometimes you might have to have conflict.
Conflict is not a bad thing.
No. And
it's like, how you work through the conflict.
Exactly. So understand that if you know your spouse is the dominant one, and there's going to be times that you are not on board with them, like you're going to have to figure out how to communicate that to your spouse.
Yes.
Like it goes both ways.
Absolutely agree. And so you have to be on the same page for your future. Also, you need to be on the same page in your parenting. Yes. So how do you stay on the same page?
That is a little bit harder, I think. Well, I don't know if it's harder, but it's hard. I think before you become parents, so the best parents in the world are the ones who don't have kids, right? Yeah. They're like, this is how we're going to be. This is the way we'll raise our children.
Yeah.
And then you have kids, and they're like completely different than you expected. Yeah. And each child is different.
Yeah.
And you are surprised.
Yeah.
And you suddenly have to change your whole way of thinking regarding raising children. And if you're not discussing with your spouse all of these things, you might not be on the same page when it comes to raising them. And especially, I think this is especially true when typically you have one parent that spends more time with the kids, right?
Yeah.
So they end up just automatically doing more of the parenting in a sense because they're there all day, or they're, the one taking them to and from school or activities or all of these kinds of things. So you automatically have one that is just like a little bit more dominant in the parent side.
Yeah.
And so if you're not even telling your spouse about, here's what's happening with the kids right now, here's where they're at, they might,
a common theme,
right? They might, exactly. They might be surprised at some point when you disagree with them on a parenting issue.
I think there's an aspect that I would like to bring up too, because we talk about communication. Like, I think that parents run into a danger when they gain their parenting knowledge strictly from somewhere else,
right?
Without talking to the spouse.
Yeah.
Right? So you might listen to our podcast saying, oh, that's really good information on parenting. I'm going to apply that.
Yeah.
Right? And so then you go off on this journey of parenting, and you haven't even... And our world moves so fast, and influencers on Instagram are so important.
Yeah. Oh, right? And there is no shortage of parenting advice out there.
Exactly.
And it's all conflicting.
Right? So the thing that I would suggest is when you hear something and you ruminate on it first, don't just jump.
Yeah.
Like, chew on it. Go, is this valuable information? Just because this attractive person told me on TikTok I should do it
right.
does not mean you should do it.
Exactly.
Just because 500 people agreed with them that this is the best parenting style ever.
It's so true.
The most important factor is communicating with your spouse on it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you two need to agree.
Yeah.
Right?
Because here's the thing. Nobody knows your kids better than you two. Right?
Yes, right.
Nobody is more equipped to raise your kids than you are.
That's right.
So listening to advice, while great, it's always great to say, oh, you know what? I'm not sure how to go about potty training. So like, let's go find out what other people have done.
Yeah.
Right? There's certain things where some of it is going to be trial and error and stuff like that. But on the really big things, you need to be on the same page and you need to be talking to each other about it.
Well, and you have to assume that your significant other might have some intelligence when it comes to it as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, even if they aren't the one with the kids all the time.
It doesn't matter. You're both in this. You're both parents.
Yeah.
And they might bring insight that your friend on Instagram, who isn't actually your friend,
right,
told you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because they have insight to your kids too.
Yeah.
I know things about our kids that you might not know because my relationship with them is different.
Yeah.
I have different conversations with Micah than you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Now, we talk about all that stuff because we communicate.
Yeah.
But we do have differences.
Yeah.
And so we see them from a different view.
Exactly.
Which is super important. And so, like right now, when it comes to potty training, even we talk about that a bit and you're like, I want to wait. And I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
So we just sort of talked about it. We didn't talk about this too much, but then we both were okay when we said, yes, let's just pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was good that you waited.
Yeah.
Because it has been so much easier.
Yeah.
Right. But I also feel like it was the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I was kind of like, it's kind of time now.
Yeah.
And so, but that was together.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean that we haven't disagreed on parenting things in the past, and everybody is going to, because you're two individuals, you have two separate brains, and you're not always going to be on the same page. So when that happens, how do you deal with it? Because there are going to be conflicts within your ideas of how to raise kids.
Yeah.
There's going to be times when the kids come to you and you say something, find out that, well, they talked to me and I said something different.
So the first and most important thing in marriage and parenting is that you are on each other's side.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, be a united front, specifically in front of the kids.
Specifically in front of the kids. So we have one of our children who complains, you always agree with mom, or you always agree with dad, and you never take my side.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And yes. And we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Like, we do not play each other against each other.
No.
And we don't disagree. Like, even if I don't agree with mom and I hear something said, I'm not going to say, well, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
And then later on, me and you are going to talk and I'll say, are you sure?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you'll tell me why or why not. And we'll come to an agreement together.
Exactly. There are certain things I don't think that we want to argue about them in front of the kids, right?
But we don't need to sort of undermine the other parent.
Right. That's a better way to
Because what happens is then now I don't ever need to listen to mom.
Exactly.
Because dad's the boss.
Yeah.
Or I don't ever need to listen to dad because mom's the boss.
Yeah.
And it totally undermines one of the parents. What happens when you're alone? Somebody might get taken advantage. Like, kids are manipulators.
Yeah.
Right?
Whether they mean to or not.
No, they're not bad people,
No.
but they try and get what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what they do.
Yeah.
Right? And so you form a united front. I love that you said that. You form a united front. and the deal is, honestly, and this is something I believe, my kids need to know that I love you in a much different way than I love them.
Yeah.
And that you are my priority.
Yeah.
They need to know that. Like, my kids are not my priority first.
Right.
You are.
Yeah, and I think that can sound harsh.
Yeah.
And that might be hard for a kid to hear. I mean, you don't necessarily need to say it in those words,
No,
but like,
okay, so then people, I think, jump.
Yeah.
They jump and they go, oh, you say that means you don't love your kid.
Yeah,
No,
no, that's not what it
I love my
means.
kids like crazy.
Yeah.
But I need to teach them what it means to, one, treat my wife.
Yeah.
And how a woman should be treated. And they need to know that I'm on your side.
Yeah.
And they need to know that I love you no matter what.
Exactly.
I don't love them less because I love you differently than them.
We're trying to teach them what a healthy relationship looks like, right?
Yes.
Like, we're trying to raise them to go, okay, well, this is what I want my marriage to look like.
Yeah.
This is what I expect of my spouse when I get married.
Yeah. And it is good for me to teach them that we have decided this is important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I know that it's really soft ground around but kids do very well when mom and dad are together. Mm-hmm. And I know people don't want me to say that.
Yeah.
But they do.
Yeah.
And there are instances, of course, when they don't, when mom and dad are unhealthy.
Yeah.
And there's abusive
toxic relationships.
But when mom and dad are doing well, kids typically are doing well.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can hate me for saying that, but it's just sort of what evidence bears out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Don't assume that you're ever going to be perfect with this.
It's not the requirement.
No. And kids change, we change. The way you parent is going to change as they grow, as you have each child. Lainey is completely different from our others is in this toddler age. Man, so much more difficult than the others were. And I'm finding that I have to parent differently with her. So just remember that when you go to have kids, it is not going to be what you expect. And it can change every single time with every single kid.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely,
so I think the big key here is communication again, and having the ability to adapt in each situation.
But adapt together. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about the importance of togetherness in all of this, and so and the communication key is how you will be able to adapt together.
Yeah.
Right.
So then that takes us to our next point about under this staying on the same page together.
Yeah. This is while you were married. How do you stay on the same page?
How do you stay on the same page in your relationship?
Okay. So we do all have love languages.
Yeah.
I maybe I'm the worst because the word love languages makes me just go
Okay, so
I'm glad that all the research is done, and I'm glad the book's out there, but I just kind of...
Okay, so quick overview in case you haven't heard of love languages. Typically, there are 5 specific ways people receive love or feel loved. Okay, so one is physical touch. Mm-hmm. One is words of affirmation. Mm-hmm. One is gifts, receiving gifts. Yep. One is quality time. Yep. What's the other one?
I don't know.
Darn it.
Shouldn't have started us off on this track, should you? Anyways, there's a 5th one.
There's a 5th one.
Go look it up. It's a good book. Neither of us have this 5th
Apparently
one.
not.
As the gift.
No, I do. Acts of service.
Acts of service.
That is one of my major ones.
Yeah.
Oh, my
good.
word.
I'm glad you got us there. See, and so I always complain to Shannon because they are not created equal. Right? So, hers, what are yours again?
Acts of service.
And gifts. Okay.
Although I'm going to say this right now, and this is maybe going to surprise you, gifts is starting to get lower and lower.
Okay. That's great. So here's my complaint to Shannon all the time. Mine are words of affirmation and touch. So this is what it takes for me. You're doing a great job. Right? That's it. In my love language, I'm getting my tank filled. Hers, I gotta pull out the vacuum cleaner, clean up the house while I'm spending money, buying gifts. These are not created equal. Can you speak to that?
I mean, what am I supposed to say to that?
I don't know. know.
That is just how I feel loved and appreciated.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm sorry. That is such a burden on you. But it is, I mean, it's true.
That was meant to be light and fun.
They're all very different. And just real quick, your kids all have different love languages
too.
Yeah,
they do. But we're talking about our relationship. Yeah. It is important to make sure that your significant other feels loved.
Yes, absolutely. Because...
And acts of service doesn't have to look like a vacuum.
No, it doesn't. It can be anything. It could be just I don't know.
Can I take your plate for you?
Exactly. It's just basically...
Am I opening doors for you?
Being thoughtful is really what it is.
It really is, yeah.
Being thoughtful. Yeah. So the thing about the book, so if you have a chance to read the book, The 5 Love Languages, it's really good.
Yeah, I listened to it, and it took me an hour and a half.
Lots of really good examples. But often in marriage, especially if you have, as most marriages have, a dominant personality and a more submissive personality, the dominant personality is going to automatically be loved the way they want to be loved because they're going to probably communicate what their love language is.
I don't know if I agree with that.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
I think that I'm constantly kind of...
Yeah, no, you're probably right.
I don't think you naturally move towards words of affirmation.
You're right. I take it back.
And you are definitely not a touchy-feely person.
That's true. Okay, so let me start over.
Yeah.
I think there are the obvious ways to love people.
And naturally, people can end up being loved because they fall in those areas.
And
like
so,
gifts.
Exactly.
Right.
So we might just assume that's what everybody's love language is. And so you think, of course I'm showing love.
Yeah.
But the other person is not feeling it at all.
Can I take it to another level?
Yeah.
I think that what we tend to do is project what we want to be loved as
absolutely.
on the other person.
Yes,
so
because
I think that this is going to be great for you.
Yeah.
And you're going, oh gosh.
Well, I've just been touched all day by my kids, right? So I'm like, I don't want to be touched again. You know, and so it's like it can be a source of conflict within a marriage.
Sure.
If
or
you're
I
not,
could give you words of affirmation,
and it doesn't mean anything.
No, you can be like, yeah, sure, whatever.
There's lots of people out there who could care less if someone gives them a gift, which I don't get. But I think gifts and acts of service sort of go hand in hand because it's the thoughtfulness aspect.
That's right.
I don't care about what the actual gift is. It's the fact that you thought of me when you were away from me to give me something.
For sure.
Right?
So understanding the other person's language, how they are loved, and then doing what needs to be done to make them feel loved is vital.
And again, it can be hard because if it's not your natural love language, you might not even realize you're not doing it.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Yeah. Okay, let's move on from love languages. That is really important. Here's a big one, and nobody wants to talk about it. But I have no problem talking about it. Do you have an understanding in the bedroom?
Right. Yeah. That is really important. And I think that there's a lot of... So within the church, and this is a whole other subject that we could talk about for a long time, so we'll just touch on it really briefly, but purity culture has done a lot of damage within women specifically. So...
Yeah, there's a lot of like gaslighting going on with purity culture.
So once you're married, that whole area can be really intimidating, really scary. For me, it's still not something I like discussing even. Right? Yeah. Because it's just been something that's been felt to be so wrong all the time that you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But your relationship is always going to be stronger when you do. And there's an understanding what each person expects from the other.
Or hopes for, even.
Yeah, expects is like a kind of a bad word.
Yeah, but I think that we've also created a perverts and prudes kind of dichotomy, right?
That's true.
Like I think we've said, men, you're all perverted, and women, you're all prudes.
Yeah.
So like nobody wins.
Yeah.
It's like men can't keep it in their pants, and women will just turn their nose up, and it's not true.
No.
Because it is something meant to be enjoyed.
Exactly.
And when guys are doing it pervertedly, they're not enjoying it to its most.
No.
And when women can't be comfortable, they're not obviously going to enjoy it either.
No.
And so I think that whether you like it or not, and it's something that we've worked on, is talking about it.
Yeah.
And...
Or still continue to have to work on.
Yeah.
Like it's always something
But it also changes.
Exactly.
Right? And that's okay.
Yeah.
But like this notion that you just get over it.
Yeah.
Is not healthy in a marriage.
Exactly.
And you're not able to live your fullest relationship because it's good.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not a gross thing.
No.
Right?
No, exactly.
But it's also not something to be taken lightly.
No.
So I don't like saying the world, but I would say Hollywood maybe.
Right.
I would say the portrayal of how much sex actually matters is downplayed.
Yeah. Like it doesn't matter.
But it does matter.
It does.
Because when you take this thing from somebody else, like you do prison time.
Yeah.
Right? When you're taking it from somebody and they're not offering it up, like this is a significant act.
Yeah.
This is something to be shared. It's and it's a spiritual connection.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So to be flippant about it is doing it disservice.
Yeah.
And we are, I think, as a world, all of us, like me included, are doing a disservice when we act like it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's so true.
It is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Yeah, but on the other side of the coin, I think that being scared of it.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's what you do. So you just like either we act like it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Or we act like it's the biggest deal in the world.
Exactly.
And if we do anything with it, you know.
Yeah, we're not a whole person anymore.
So it's just like, I think that there's a reason why it's supposed to be in marriage.
Yeah.
Because me and you, it's safe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's safe to be everything. It's safe to be adventurous or awkward. It's safe to,
That's true.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Though? Like it's safe to be good and horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's safe to be all those things. And we know that,
no matter what, when you wake up the next morning, you still love each other and you're still.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that what people need to hear is that they need to care about how the other's experience is.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So even though it's uncomfortable, you need to talk about it.
But care about the other's experience.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
care about their outcome.
I was listening to a podcast the other day where they were talking about how in their marriage they hated it, but didn't feel like they were ever allowed to say no.
Oh.
Right? That's not healthy.
No.
That's never what you want. No matter what, each person still has autonomy over their own body.
Yeah.
You can say yes, you can say no. You can make that choice. You don't owe it to them.
No.
It's part of a loving, healthy relationship.
Exactly.
Though.
And it's
So.
going to be the best when the person feels autonomous.
Right. Exactly.
Right? That's when it's going to be the best.
Yeah.
So
Anyways.
make sure that you have an understanding.
Yeah.
Do not talk about it.
No, definitely not.
All right. Being on the same page in your relationship, are you making time for one another?
Yeah. Yeah, that's super important.
Yeah.
I think often, especially when we have kids,
Yeah.
we tend to not make time for each other.
Yeah.
Right? Because you think, well, we're together.
Yeah.
We're here together. We live
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
We sleep in the same bed. We, get up in the morning.
Yeah.
But
I say
like-
hi.
What?
I say hi.
Yeah.
How's it going?
But are you actually spending quality time with each other?
Exactly. So one of these awesome people at our church did this thing where I bought a snowblower off him and I gave him the cash and he handed me literally half the cash back and said, you need to take your wife on a date.
So sweet.
Right? Love this guy.
Yeah.
But wow, like that is how important it is.
Because how often do we date?
Well, we don't really get to.
No,
Like,
we go out on our
finances
anniversary.
are in the way of that.
Yeah.
Our time is
Yeah.
in the way of that. Our kids are in the way of that.
Yeah.
Like there's just so much in the way of that.
So, we do try to make sure once the kids have gone to bed, we're spending time with each other every
Exactly,
night. But it
yes.
might not be like...
No, we watch Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Not Hot Guy.
Hawkeye is awesome, though.
Okay.
But, it's not... watching shows isn't your favorite thing to do. I really like watching shows, but it's not your favorite thing to do. So it's not like...
Shows.
The best time spent, but we are together.
Yeah.
But we could definitely make more of an effort to get out, just the two of us,
Yeah.
and date.
There's things that have held us back from that.
Absolutely, and that's always going to be the case.
But acknowledging it, not
Yeah.
pretending like it's not a thing that we need to work at.
Exactly.
Is foolishness, right? Like we
Yeah.
need to say, yes, we need to make that time for each other
Yeah.
because there will be the season when everyone moves out.
Yeah.
Me and you will be left with each other and we're not going to just watch Hawkeye. There's only 6 episodes, right?
Yeah, exactly. No.
And then are we supporting each other?
Yeah.
And I think that is one thing that I'm just so grateful for you about is the support I've always gotten.
Right.
And it's been a relationship where I have been the dominant personality, and we have looked at things maybe unintentionally paternalistically.
Right.
Right. Like ministry. Well, I don't know why we did it.
I didn't want to be a pastor. I had no interest in going back to Bible school.
I didn't either.
Okay, I didn't want to be. I just didn't want to go back to school.
Yeah.
I'm sure it could have if we thought we both wanted to.
And it's all working out well.
Yeah.
But you've done well to support all the different things. My book, anything to do with moving, honestly. But we were on the same page.
Yeah, exactly.
And now I hope that you feel supported in the stuff you want to do.
Absolutely.
Right? Because it's not all about me, and it's not all about you.
Right.
It's about us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. So, supporting each other in the big and the little things, right? So it can be...
I only think in big things.
Well, the little things are important too, right? So often you'll hear about stay-at-home moms who don't feel supported by their husband when they come home from work, and that can be hard. And that's even been an issue for us in the past, right? I think we've worked through that, but...
Wait, what? Say that again?
Not feeling supported in the home.
You're saying I wasn't supporting you?
We've had conversations about this in the past.
Like dishes?
Yeah, pulling your weight in a sense, right? And that's always going to be one of those conversations that can be hard for spouses because you feel like you're pulling your weight and I feel like you're not pulling your weight or vice versa. Yes. Do you know what I mean? Because there are typically things, duties that each person takes on, right? So like you take care of the finances, you take care of all the outdoor stuff, all that kind of stuff.
All the tech stuff.
Right, and I've typically...
And I work 50 hours.
Exactly.
See, I'm already getting defensive. I didn't know she was going to say this, but like my natural go-to is like, wait a minute.
But I'm not saying that this is still a problem. I'm saying that these have been issues that we've had to work through in the past, right? And that can honestly be an issue for lots of people in their marriages. So I'm just trying to say that, like, being supportive in the big things, but also the little things.
Yes. Agreed. And the point of the matter, I think, goes to get over yourself. Like, I know that's something I made fun of earlier, but like if I just think about it, there is that thing in me right now, because I didn't know you were going to say that.
I'm sorry to have caught you off guard.
Yeah, I didn't know you were going to say that. So it made me feel guilty and bad.
Oh, I didn't want to do that.
No, but I know, but that's not your problem.
Yeah.
But that's how people will react in the moment. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So you're going to tell me, look, I feel like I'm doing all of this and you're not helping. And I go,
yeah.
But I.
Yeah.
Which I instantly wanted to go to. Just now I did. I wanted to be like, look, lady, this is where I am pulling my weight. But that's not supportive.
Right.
And we did work through that because I did turn around certain things.
Yeah.
I just really right now want to think of the things that you had to turn around because you weren't supporting me, but I can't think of any of them. So.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's going to be a lot of her catching me off guard apparently on this.
I'm sorry.
On this podcast.
Right. Again, we should have communicated more thoroughly before we started.
What are you going to do? It's honest at least, right?
Well, that's the thing. Is so perfect example, like talking things through.
Right. But no, I didn't play it up just now, but I didn't want to hide it because it's real. It's real
absolutely.
that you're going to feel those emotions. You are going to have moments where you feel inadequate. Yeah. Because sometimes you might be not quite at your best.
Exactly. If you're ever having to talk about those things that can feel like daggers, you're going to be defensive.
Yeah. Well, but you don't have to be defensive.
No. But I think...
You're going to feel like you might want to defend yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And that's fair. And sometimes maybe you need to have these conversations, walk away for a bit.
Yes.
Think separately on them and then come back together. And that's typically what we've had to do anytime that we've had a fight.
Yeah, we don't typically fight
Not
too
typically,
much.
but we have had disagreements. And so often a little bit of time apart, time to sit and think and ruminate on the things.
We have disagreements.
Of course we do.
Yeah.
Because we're two separate people. But coming back together, the thing is, don't just leave them in the air, right? Don't leave it unfinished.
And that's something we've made important.
Yeah. Yes.
I need to come back to them sooner than you do. But
that's our personality difference.
We don't often sleep on an issue though.
No.
And I think that's good.
Yeah.
Like we don't let things stew.
Yeah,
we're both quick to ask for forgiveness.
The saying, don't let the sun go down on your anger, is actually really, really good advice.
Yeah.
It is. People don't want to sort of be flippant about it, but it's true.
Yeah, don't say you're sorry when you're not sorry. Don't say sorry just to get out of a conflict.
But like actually working through issues. And
I'm going to go back to saying that there's rarely one person. Actually, I don't know that made the cut on this, but usually when it comes to issues, there's rarely a situation where one person is totally right and one person's totally wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you need to remember that.
Yeah.
You need to remember that when you're ready to get defensive, that there's going to be truth in what they're saying, and you need to be able to hear it.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to make you happy.
No.
But you just need to address it.
Yeah.
Don't be flippant about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually don't know if I got to my point there. I feel like I started down a road. And then I took a bit of a right-hand turn. Then I said something, and it took me over a hill. And I don't know if I actually came back to the right point.
I think you did.
Okay. Really quick recap. We talked about in this being on the same page. We talked about the importance of starting off on the right foot, starting off on the same page.
Before you're married.
Yeah, and then we got into growing together and staying on the same page. So the same page for your future, the same page in your parenting as a married couple with kids.
Yeah.
And the same page in your relationship.
Yeah.
Are there any pitfalls?
Oh, I mean,
do we need to talk about them?
I think that they're obvious, and I think we've kind of hit them throughout. Like, the pitfalls, one, are going to be our ego.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, ourselves getting in the way of being able to hear something you don't want to hear, or not wanting to talk about things you don't want to talk about.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, and that leads right to lack of communication.
Exactly.
Right? And often the times that we don't communicate with one another is because our ego's in the way.
Yeah.
We're sitting there, I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because that means I've got to confront the me that I see in the mirror that I'm not really actually liking.
Exactly.
Like when I remember the season that you kind of said, like, look, man, help me out here. Like, I feel like I have to do everything right here in this certain thing. Like it was in a certain area of our lives.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I don't want to talk about it because I feel this, this, and this.
Right.
But you're also making me feel bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and so, okay, so...
But I had a reason to feel bad. It wasn't like you were making me feel bad.
Well, and I think there's this idea that, like, we should never make each other feel bad. Like, obviously you're not intending to make another person feel bad, but sometimes we should feel bad.
That we have a world where the truth is not allowed to be told if it hurts our feelings.
Yeah. So what happens when we feel bad about something? What is the outcome of that? Do we sit in our sadness, or do we go, okay, I feel bad about that. Why do I feel bad about that? What do I need to change?
Yeah. Am I wrong? Oh, wait, maybe I'm wrong. Oh, yeah. What do I need to change? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I think that also with the communication, getting over ourselves, making sure that we communicate, I think that we have to be careful not to just sort of sink back into old ruts.
Yeah.
Or go just how it's easy.
Yeah.
Because that's comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? I think in our lives, we made some decisions based upon what was easy. And I think we always paid for that. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
I think that we're always needing to be looking forward and doing the hard work of asking the questions, communicating the answers to one another, and like seriously just continuously dreaming.
Yeah.
And it's like dreaming in all of it, dreaming in the little and dreaming in the big.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
So that's kind of how, I mean, that's the really long version of some of the ways that we stay on the same page.
Yeah.
But after 16 years of marriage, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah. I think it can be easy. Like the longer you are married, the less you'll communicate because you sort of get into a flow.
Yeah.
So I think that it's important to not do that. Right? Because you think about the marriages who have ended or that have ended after 40 plus years.
Yeah,
like what
bizarre.
happened? Like you've been together forever. How did it end now?
Yeah. Why'd you break the chain now?
Likely it's because you just sort of went into your own worlds, right? Like you went into your own spaces and then you didn't talk, you didn't communicate, you didn't have anything in common anymore.
No, exactly. And so like I can foresee something coming now. With you going to film school, that could take you into a world that I don't belong.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to have to navigate that.
Absolutely. Like, so you always have to be vigilant in your marriage.
Absolutely.
Don't just assume everything's peachy keen when it maybe isn't.
That's right.
I just said peachy keen.
You did. And you know what? I just tried to sidestep it, but you brought it back up. So let's let that be in the room.
Yeah.
Peachy keen. All right. So thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this podcast, just subscribe.
Yes. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
Yes.
We have a website, leadingreallife.com.
We're always going to be talking about leadership. We're going to be talking about parenting, relationships.
Yes.
We throw a little bit of faith in there because that is who we are.
Yep.
But also, if you want to join the discussion,
send us a message. Write a comment.
Leave
us a
review.
rating. Yeah, all of those kinds
Only
of
good
things.
ones, though, please.
Yeah, we don't want any one-star reviews.
We want to live in this wonderful fantasy world where we're 5 stars.
Exactly. All right. Well, we'll talk to you next week about how our kids are actually perfect. Ooh. Make sure you don't miss it.
Bye.
Bye.
I cannot remember.